Hey everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with the books that I'm planning to read in September. Let me tell you, it does not feel very September-y around here. It's supposed to be like 110 this weekend. I'm not fucking looking forward to it. If you've watched my channel for a longer period of time, it's okay if you haven't. No one's I don't know. No one's gonna come after you, I guess I'm saying. But if you have, you might know that I think since I started my YouTube channel, I've been taking part in the Magical Readathon, which is put on by Book Roast every year. And yeah, so it usually takes place in April and August, but since Garbogust was going on last month and I wanted to participate in that because I also like the community aspect of that a lot, I decided to do Garbogust and then just push the August Magical Readathon plans to September. Because with that one, sure, the community is great. However, I am definitely more integrated into the horror community rather than the community of folks who read a lot of fantasy. Although I do have some friends out there. You know who you are, of course. But what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't bother me as much to do the Magical Readathon the month afterwards. But I don't know if it would be, I mean, like, trashy books, they're always fun to read, but part of the magic of Garbogust for me was being able to do it with my friends. So, that's what I'm trying to say. Holy shit. So I'm here with a TBR that is mostly fantasy books, and you know what? My bookshelf had the opportunity to throw me some horror in there, and it chose not to because a couple of these were picked by like random generators, you know what I mean? I'll get into it. I'll get into like the prompts and what I chose. I'll do that right now. The Magical Readathon is of course this readathon where you are going to this magical academy, right? And you pick a career to follow. So mine, I chose demonologist, and this is like the second part of the readathon where, you know, you read books according to the prompts, according to the career that you chose, and like the classes that you would figuratively in this magical academy have to take and pass, right? To be able to do this thing, to get your demonology degree. So anyways, there were 4 classes that I had to take: elemental studies, conjuration, demonology, and spells and incantations. And each of those, well, not each of them, but some of them have multiple prompts. The first one for elemental studies is to start a book with a drink. So that's going to be easy. I picked, the book I picked for that is Blue Lily Lily Blue, because I would like to finish up the Raven cycle here in the next few months. The Raven Boys is the first book in that series, and it follows a young girl named Blue and these friends she makes who go to a prestigious all-boys academy and in the small town that she lives in, and the like leader of this boy gang is obsessed with this maybe long dead Welsh king. And there's a lot of like magic. Blue's family in particular are psychics, and so there's just a lot of fun aspects going on. And really, for a YA series, this is really spectacular. Not to hate on people who love YA series, I've read quite a few, and most of the time I find, more likely than not at least, I will read a first book and I'll be like, okay, this is okay. However, I don't want to invest my time reading these because I just think that they're okay. But the Raven cycle has been so good so far. And so yeah, it's a really great YA series with some magical elements and just these crazy ideas that this author has that just make this book so interesting. So that is my first book in September. The next class is Conjuration, and the prompt for that is a book with necromancy themes, which happened to work out well for me because I'm also trying to finish or catch up with the gosh, I don't know what this series is called, but the first book is Gideon the Ninth. This second one here is Harrow the Ninth, And I don't even know what to tell you. This is like a lesbian space necromancy thing where each planet, there are 9 planets, and each planet practices like its own sort of necromancy, and they're all called together for this like competition. They're in this like mansion, and I keep saying like a lot, and I'm sorry, but like it just happens. But anyways, so we're following the people from the 9th planet, right? And the like princess is Harrow, but she had to choose this champion, and she doesn't want everyone to know that like her house is not doing very good, and basically she only has like one person to choose from, which happened to be Gideon. So in the first book we're really following Gideon, who is the champion for Harrow in this strange necromancy thing, mystery competition that's happening. And now in this second book here, we're following Harrow, and I don't really know where this will go. I really loved the ideas in the first book, but I think some of the execution I found lacking, particularly in like the world building and the setting. So I'm hoping that maybe this one is a little more fleshed out, but I'll have to see. I did like the first one, so that's why I decided to continue on with this, obviously. And this is like hard necromancy, like no question about it, so fit this prompt perfectly. My next class is demonology, and I have 3 prompts that I need to follow in this one. The first one is to just read a fantasy book, and it's like, aren't they all? Haven't they all been so far? But there is another series I'm trying to get through. The first Law trilogy, I believe, by Joe Abercrombie. The second book is called Before They Are Hanged, and this is another book with just a lot going on in it. We follow multiple characters. One's like an inspector, one's kind of like a barbarian warrior, one's just kind of like a frou-frou boy who is trying to become like, I don't know, like kind of like a soldier, but maybe better. I don't know. This is medievally, so what would they be called? Knight? I don't know. I can't remember. That's the problem I have, is that I don't read books in a series soon enough after each other, and I kind of like I kind of forget some of the more important details, but they're on the brink of war, so they've got to get ready for it. And there's a wizard, and he's basically kind of gathered up this team of people to help him, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in here. I think my favorite person in this book is this like inquisitor guy. His name is Inspector Glockta, and he's kind of like the torture expert, and he is so good at it because he's also been tortured, and so he's got like all these physical disabilities, like he's got this strange lisp, and he's all hunched over, and he's hurting all the time, but he's really not a very old man. So yeah, I don't know, there's just a lot of really interesting characters in this, and I'm excited to get into the second book finally. My next demonology prompt was to use a random number generator to choose a book off of your TBR. And listen, the first time I did this, okay, so I did this twice because I got this book and I was like, I really don't want to start a series, like another series, because this is the first book in a series. And then I did it again, and it was another book that was like the start of a series, and I was like, geez, I just can't keep doing this over and over. So I just picked up my first book. This is Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This is about this guy named Senlin, and I believe he's a teacher, and he gets married, and for their honeymoon, they decide to go to the Tower of Babel. And I believe Zach read this some time ago, and I believe what he told me about this is that like each level is like kind of something different, and his wife ends up getting lost in the Tower of Babel, and he's trying to find her. And from what I remember him saying, this is quite a few years ago, but like he would go to where she's rumored to be and she wouldn't be there, and so he's just like up and down in this tower trying to find his wife. But I've heard that this is a good series. Zach's only read this first one, but I've heard from other people that this is a good series. I think there are 3 or 4 books. I think that this is a series that's complete now. But yeah, so just gonna have to add this to the list of series I have to read. Holy guacamole. Or maybe I just won't like this and will decide not to continue on with it, but I get the feeling that I might like this, so we'll see, I guess, where this takes me at least. Then the last demonology prompt I had is to pick a book that's at risk of being unhauled from your collection. And so I chose this book that I've had for quite a long time, that I look at it and I'm like, will I ever read that? Should I just sell it? So this is Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson. And this is, I believe, a dystopian book about this girl, and she is trying to make her way to this island that's rumored to be more neutral because there are these like warring factions, and she's trying to make it there. I don't know if she makes it, but it seems like there is like, this is a book where there's like a rebellion and things like that, which is just, sometimes it's a trope I like and sometimes it's not. I guess it depends on how the author does it. But, you know, in YA, I feel like that's just such a familiar trope, especially because when I do read YA, it's mostly fantasy. So there are a lot of warring factions, a lot of rebellions brewing in books like that. So it's like, will I like this? I don't know. That's why it's at risk of being unhauled. And I have to say, I'll just see. I don't know, maybe I'll love it. All right, and then my last class is Spells and Incantations. I have 2 prompts for this one. The first one is to use a random color generator. So I did that, and the color I got was called Sulfur Yellow, and it was just like bright yellow, which is kind of perfect because I have this bright yellow book right here. Perfect. Sulfur Yellow, that's what it's called apparently. This is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson, and this is another fantasy book about, let's see. So there is the Royal Coven. They protect the crown and country from evil forces, but it says their greatest enemy will come from within. There's something about a prophecy and 4 friends who are kind of estranged but have to come back together, which is a thing that I do like when people are estranged, whether it's just like they've grown apart, moved away from each other, or maybe there's some infighting. So that's a trope that I like. So I'm hoping that I like this. It seems like it's going to be fun. This is an adult fantasy book, which I tend to get along with a little bit better than YA fantasy these days, at least. But holy cow, this is such a beautiful book. This is a Fairy Loot edition of this from their like adult book only subscription, and boy, this is gorgeous. I can't wait to read this and just like, oh, I just get to look at this naked hardcover over and over as I'm reading this giant book. And then the last book that I have planned for this month at least, The Nightly Disease by Max Booth III, an author. So this is a book about a night clerk at a hotel where strange things might happen, and this is my pick for a book that I think I might give 5 stars to. I think I might. I really do enjoy Max's writing, and I feel like I might be able to relate a little bit to this character. I have said this every time I talk about this fucking book, but I also worked at a hotel for some time, and I would have this shift that was like 3 to 11, so I wasn't in the middle of the night where things probably get spooky, but it was the time where a lot of people are like going out to dinner, and well, people are checking in, which is kind of a nightmare in and of itself. And then also people are like eating, coming back from the bar and talking to you too much and things like that. So I'm wondering like, what experience does this character have, and can I relate? I feel like I might be able to. There's too much laundry at this place, and someone pooped in the pool bathroom and it's gross, you know, things like that. So, yeah, that's it. All right, so that's what I've got planned for, oh shoot, I almost forgot. I do have one more prompt for my thing, but I haven't found a book that can fill it yet because I'm supposed to be choosing a book off of somebody's TBR, but it's not quite the end of the month yet. So I'm not seeing a lot of like, I've watched a couple TBR videos on YouTube from people I subscribe to, and I've looked on Instagram briefly, but mostly I just get shit that is not, there's just so many fucking ads on Instagram. I don't spend a ton of time on there anymore either, so it's like, I get distracted. One, I get distracted. Two, I can't find any book posts because it's all fucking ads. Three, I haven't found any TBR posts because it's not the end of the month yet, or the beginning of the month, I mean. So I'm gonna ask here if there, what do you plan on reading this month? Is it anything that you know I have, or I don't know, because that's the thing. It's like I could pick any book off of a TBR that I want, but I would prefer if it was something that I already have and haven't read, so that I can just grab it off my shelf and read it, and I don't have to like shill out more money, or I don't have to worry about finding a copy from my library or renting a copy from my library. It would be great if it's just like there. So let me know. Maybe I'll have a book that you're reading and I can use your book for my prompt. Otherwise, that's all I have. I'd love to hear what you're reading for, you know, for science. And just because I'm genuinely interested. So let me know if you've read any of these and if you have any thoughts on them. Otherwise, I will see you later. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.